Brother Al is what everyone is watching you and everybody is listening to you. How you doing today, brother?
I'm very wonderful, sister.
You can hear that power in the voice. You can hear the power in the voice. Everybody is listening and watching you. Now tell me, what have you been doing the last 12 hours?
Well, just normally being at the office and then no anything particular. Just only moving a little bit around, social distancing, you are aware, and then also partial lockdown to some extent, more or less, even though lifted or unlocked, but still you restrict your movement in order not to be in trouble. So pretty much, I'm not doing much, just only taking it quiet. The last 12 hours have been very normal. From time to time, you call, we talk. That actually have been the basic what I've done today, basically, not anything more. It's very normal life.
Now, tell me before you go into your presentation, how have you been going through this social distancing and this pandemic? Has anything changed before, and do you see anything changing so soon? I mean, particularly with you.
Well, normally I'm not an outing person in general. Whoever knows me, I think I've seen my sisters, my niece, and others. Some of them on the platform, they will tell you that I'm a indoor bound kind of a person. I hardly go out. I don't socialize all that much. You hardly see me. I don't go clubbing. I don't go. I'm just a house person. If I'm not in the house, in the office, normally just about that. So the social distancing actually it hasn't affected me to that extent because that has been my traditional life. And then if you are to talk about also the so-called the fear of the pandemic and X other related stuff going out there, we are just cautious. And normally I'm very cautious, just like how anybody is being asked or told to do. It is our
Okay.
duty to take our lives into our own hands. And for that matter, you just only observe the protocols.
Okay, exactly. Now, you are here because we had a discussion. Africa must unite, and this is the time. Africa being united means all people of African descent, Africans on the continent, bridging with the ones with those and their brothers and sisters across the ocean and in the diaspora. And this sound has been so clear by the effect of the corona and the pandemic. We now realize a lot of hidden agendas and a lot of systems that our people were not so informed about. And also the issue of leadership on the continent because of the pandemic. A lot of people are now discovering that most leaders or head of states who used to run out in the diaspora for treatment purposes or or just to visit the Switzerland heaven cannot do it because of the social distancing. And so because of all this kind of this period in which we are, Africans have woke up a lot, and they're saying yes, these are things we did not even understand. We didn't know that China was to write in this kind of a way. We thought that they were business partners, but now look at what they're just doing to us. I mean, the pandemic has actually unveiled a lot. Now that's why you're here, because we're saying we need to come together. Brother, let me usher you into your presentation. Do you think it's the time now, and what is it that we need to know about Africa while talking about a united Africa? Go on.
Well, let me take the opportunity to congratulate you for inviting me on your show. It took just only within 3 days when we had a discussion through our good friend Doctor, and then you decided to have me here so that we can interact and exchange ideas and also discuss what is called Africa, Pan-Africanism, and then also uniting Africa. I think that is the essence pretty much of our discussions today. Well, it's very interesting. I must first mention who I am. My name is Farouk Al Wahab from Ghana, not from Accra, but I'm from the Ashanti region, Kumasi, precisely from a village, a town called Swami. And then also we have another relations also in the Volta region of Ghana, which is close to the border of Togo. a town by name Frega, that is the hometown of our ancestors, or let me call it our great grandfathers. So pretty much I belong to two tribal sections or two races when it comes to Ghana. And by religion, I'm a Muslim, and also professionally, I'm a certified diplomatic, international diplomatic consultant. And then I also combine that with investment consultancy, advisory services. And I pretty much, if that is what you may need to know about any other thing that as the program goes on, whatever that you would like to maybe know from me personally, I will not hesitate to give you. But then for the purpose of our discussions, we are discussing Africa. Before I launch on my preambles, I would like to take this opportunity to tell all Africans listening and all Africans in our homes that Africa, we are told that we have 89 countries that are connected to Africa. And these 89 countries, that is, we're talking about the African, the Pan-African or the Black continent, which are the 89 countries. We have 56 of them, that is from the African continent itself, the mother continent. And then we have our brothers and sisters, about 28 islands in the Caribbean. And then we have our brothers and sisters also in the South Pacific. That is where most of us are not abreast with whatever is happening, that it's even a Black continent. But let me just also take the opportunity to tell you and to tell the listeners that Africa, we have brothers from the 14 Pacific islands, sandwiched between Australia, Northeast Australia, and then also New Zealand. These islands, we have Vanuatu, we have Kiribati, we have Tahiti, and then we also have New Caledonia, we have Nauru Island, and then also Solomon Island, Papua. But then there is an issue, which I'm bringing it as my intro for all of us to refresh our mind, that there is a race, a Black man, that till today in the 21st century, 2020, still under colonization. Are you aware? Susie, are we aware, Africans, that we still have a Black man who has not been who is still under colonization? And I'm referring the case of West Papua.
Correct.
The West Papua is an island in the West, in the South Pacific, and this island is under colonization of Indonesia as we speak today. Caribbean is liberated. African continent, to some extent, yes, we are all liberated, but West Papua is not liberated. So all Africans listening, we have 500,000 of our brothers and sisters who have been murdered. We have our brothers and sisters who have been taken into prison to serve 15-year sentence because they raised the flag of a Black man, which is the Morning Star flag. We have the exile leader, Ben Wenda, who is still housed in United Kingdom. He cannot fly to West Papua. This independence, I myself, Farouk Al-Wahab, happen to be on the powerful government delegation of Vanuatu, even though I'm not from Vanuatu. We launched a campaign on the 110th Ministerial African Caribbean Pacific Summit that took place in Kenya, Nairobi, just this December, last December. And then on also the head of 6th Summit of the ACP, African Caribbean Pacific. And this issue of human rights resolution was signed. This issue, it has been always discussions on the table, but the force, the power, which Africa, the entire Africa of 56 countries, we need to push. And then together with the United Nations, the UNHCR in Geneva and New York, both in Africa, we're supposed to push the agenda that never no more, that we should have brothers and sisters. So under colonization, so what we are saying is that we should decolonize West Papua, which is still suffering, because can you imagine that people are kept in prison and guess what? Not human being their bodyguards. They are being guided by pythons, snakes. That is what is guiding the people of West Papua. So that is my preamble, that as much as we are thinking that we are preaching Pan-Africanism, there is a history that Africans have forgotten. And African leaders, I'm challenging you, I'm challenging all of us, I'm throwing it at you. I was part of the delegation of Vanuatu that raised the issue. Ghana President, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, made a submission on that. Almost all the Africans presidents spoke. The Caribbean spoke. The South Pacific spoke. Where does it end? What has happened with the issue of West Papua? So that would be my preamble today, that we have our brothers and sisters who have not been colonized, who are still under colonization, and we need to do whatever possible to decolonize them. Susie.
Correct. I mean, this is mind-blowing. I know about the situation of West Papua, but in this kind of intensity that you're talking about, I mean, this is devastating. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. What is Africa? It is a continent, one will call it a continent of about 54 countries, depending on how we see it. At the point we say 56, at the point there have been young nations that have joined, South Sudan, etc. But if you look at the entire Africa, West Africa is in blocks. We have the North Africa, we have the Central, we have the East, we have the South, we have the West of the African continent. When you talk of the North, we're looking at from the West Sahara, the Sahrawi Republic, Morocco, we have Algeria, Tunisia, we have Egypt, Libya, in that order. And then you also go to some states of the eastern, that is the Horn. We have the Djibouti, Eritrea out there. You come to the Sudan part, which part of it you can call it North African belt. That is the Arab part of the African continent. When you come to the Central, that is where I think that I'm told you are from Cameroon. The Central, we have the Chad, we have the Cameroon, Gabon, and then Central African Republic, Congo, etc. Congo partly falls sometimes also to the east, but at the same time, it belongs to the west. And then you come down, you see Angola, part of it is classified or seen as a central, but then it belongs also some part of it to the south. And then you come to West Africa, where we have 17 countries. But in 17 countries, there is a country which most Africans do not know, that is in the ocean somewhere on the east coast and the Atlantic Ocean. So for the British, that is St. Helena. This is an island which somehow they're detached from Africa, unlike Madagascar, which is outside, but still they do a lot of good things with Africa. Total of Africa entirely, we are about 1.2, 1.3 billion. That is official, I will call it unofficial figures. But then you and I can tell that we are more than even 1.5, 1.6 billion population. 56 countries. All of us have colonization. All of us were colonized by Europeans, and then we all gained independence, one way or the other. Interestingly, Africa, if you take it from my country, Ghana, Togo, Benin, etc., it is the French, the English, the Portuguese. Spanish have only one country in the Africa, on the African continent, which is Guinea Equatorial. And then you have the Portuguese that are having, how do we call it, 5 leagues of countries: Sao Tome and Principe, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Angola, Cape Verde. And then very much when you go to the French column, the French took the whole of Central Africa, more or less, whereas the English took the whole of Eastern Africa, more or less. And then the Belgium have also 3 leagues of countries: Rwanda, Burundi, and then also Congo to some extent. And then also we have the North Africa. But in terms of colonization, which is very important and very key for us to look at the dynamics, how the African continent was colonized. We have been told historically that the sub-Saharan, Ghana happens to be the first country to be colonized by the English. But if you look at it, the heat with which Ghana injected in or put in through their colonization effort, even though much were not done in terms of fighting or striking, not that much was seen between Ghana and the British, who colonized us. But to some extent, there were some agreements that were laid forward. But when it comes, Ghana gained the independence in 1957. Then Ghanaian leaders that are politically at that time enlightened, they decided to say that yes, the independence of the African continent, or for the black man, doesn't rest on the shoulder of Ghana, because we will be selfish on that subject. Therefore, the whole African, there is a need for us to have independence. And then they started the push. The push was made possible because of our tradition, our culture, and then also our relations, the cultural value, the tradition, and then how we live as an African. Bearing in mind that Africa, more or less, we all have, say we take up the north, sub-Saharan Africa, we have the same food, the same everything that we do, virtually, the culture, tradition, everything similarly, with different names, X, Y, Z. After Ghana has gained her independence, Big Brother Nigeria was then at the corner. They didn't have independence. Ghana shared nose. But if you look at an interesting thing, date back after the Second World War, date back after the First World War, there were a lot of spaces, there were a lot of lands on Africa, there were a lot of territories which were not captured. So the British and the French took advantage to share the continent among themselves. But then where they had their fear, the countries that put pressure on them, notably Ghana being the first, they decided that yes, the English that took only Ghana, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, okay, 4 countries on the West Africa. Yes, I'm correct. Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia, yes. So these countries, look at how the French sat down with the English to demarcate and then to put blocks around us to separate the black man. Not to separate the black man as in a color, to separate us from being united. Because if you are from the Volta region of Ghana, that's the border of Togo, the families are the same. They speak the same language. If you are from Benin Republic, crossing to the Yoruba land of Nigeria, it's the same Yoruba land. So in order to barricade for us not to have a united front and have one flow, one language, one destiny, one identity, one ideology, one philosophy, one mentality, they decided to put blocks. And for that matter, Ghana, you started independence. Let's give you 3 French countries so that we barricade you with the French language. So you see Ghana, the north, the English gave to the French, and they named it Upper Volta, today Burkina Faso. Then they went to the Ghana West. Cote d'Ivoire is a French. Ghana is Togo. Down is the Atlantic Ocean. So Ghana was blocked, caged in between the 3 French countries. Then they put 2 French countries in between. They put Togo French. They put a Republic of Benin French. Then came Big Brother Nigeria, who also was warming herself out also to gain independence. The Big Brother Nigeria was also another ally of Ghana because of what? Our British and then their colonial lineage. Therefore, the Nigeria too, British and France, they connived, thought that these people could also be dangerous. Let's block them with a language. They put what? They put Benin Republic, and then they put Niger in the north to change to guide them. And then also they put what? Cameroon on the other side, also to make sure they cage Nigeria in. And then they put also Chad, which is also French, in the north, belting with Cameroon, and then also they cage Nigeria with the French. So literally they kept Nigeria in the middle. But when they went to the central, they opened it. And if you look at the historical background of how the French, I'm taking us from West Africa across the African continent. Look back or go back, should anybody research. When we gained our independence in 1957, started pushing the agenda of African independence, what happened? What happened was that the French at a point decided, okay, the pressure has just been about so much. So we give independence to the French countries. So literally, the whole West African French countries, look at the date when independence the French gave them. 1960, 1960, 1960, 1960. And then they gave them August, July, August, July, August. That was the number. When they went to the Belgium, also in the Central African for the Congo, and then also for Rwanda, Burundi, it was the same thing that the Belgium also did. They gave them 1963, stand to be corrected, also the same August, repeated. When this was done, countries like Ethiopia, which will come there, that the only African country, together with Libya and then Egypt, that fought, never gave it up to Italians to colonize them. So one would say that they gained their independence through their own struggle by fighting. But when we came back to West Africa, and then the French, they left the zone of West Africa, country Guinea, which was the next 1958, that gained independence after Ghana, because His Excellency, the then first president of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, had a friendship with Secretariat, had a friendship with Mali president, and the three of them, they had a problem with the French. So 1958, when French decided, no, you Guinea, if we give you independence, be on yourself, you never be able to join the French, even the currency called the CFA, and other things that they did to the Guineans. They secluded Guinea. But then Ghana, there was an introduction called Ghana, Guinea, Mali, which because of the friendship, where Ghana propagated that we are blacks, we are Africans, we are one identity, one people, one culture, one destiny, one tradition. Let us unite together. Then the French went to the Central. Then the French at that time were also having the hold of the North Africa, except Tunisia that had already gained independence somewhere around 56, thereabout. Look at the struggle which Algeria, the French unleashed the fight between them and Algeria. Even though back then in this World War II, Algeria was the only country among others in Africa that supported the World War cause, fighting with the French alongside. Coming in mind that the First World War that saw 32 countries, the Second World War that saw 30 countries. 3 African countries independently went into fight. And you are talking about Ethiopia. They fight on their own in support of Germany, in support of Italy. That is called the Axis power. Ethiopia fought. On their return back, Ethiopia had a rough because the way they fought and the energy, the war of Adwa, you made mention of Adwa, Italy fought with Ethiopia. That is how they liberated themselves. And then the same thing was what Libya did. And then also what Algeria also did with the French. So if you look at how the African country, the whole 57 or 56 countries, how it is shaped and how it is grouped. Look at the blocks of the French and the English and go back and check when the independence were given and when they were all liberated. When it came to the Portuguese, the 5 League, look at how 1973-75, every Portuguese country on the West African belt or on the Central, wherever Portugal went, it was what? In the 73, because Portugal was not prepared to leave Africa. When even the English are left, when even English were gone, when even the French were gone, when even the Belgium were gone, Portugal said they will not go. They will stay. So Sao Tome and Principe, 1973, 1975, when they went to Guinea-Bissau, it was about the same time. And then when they were fighting with Angola, they fought with them and fought with Mozambique. Mozambique was a Frelimo that was fighting with Angola for independence. And then when you went to Angola, you remember the fight that was called Luta Armada Libertação Nacional. That was the fight, which the liberation of Angola. However, after the Angolans were even gone, and then Angolans got their independence, but Portuguese left, Angolans got their independence. They just gave them back to come and stay on the continent of Africa, back again. Now let's go into the Africa and the Pan-Africanism. The Pan-Africanism is what you and I, we have lost it, Susie. The problem being that we are talking about colonialism and Afroism. Either we live as an African, colonized, but then liberated, having an independent. So having an independent means that your destiny was given to you. Having an independent means that they didn't take the land away. Having an independence means that you wanted to be a sovereignty nation with sovereignty rights, sovereign nation, sovereignty rights. Have your own destiny, decide what you have. Yes, of course, there was so much that we couldn't have achieved because some of the countries or most of us didn't prepare but there was a need that they have to go because some were by agreement and some were by fight. When they saw their brother struggling, we also wanted to liberate it. So they left. Now here we are, 60 years, 71 years, Egypt and co, they are around 1936, and then Ethiopia and others. Generally, the whole Africa, we will say that we have overall average about 70 years of independence across board when our brothers and sisters from the French, English, the Belgium, the Portuguese, and the Italians, and all of them left the soil of Africa, and then we call it a liberated nation. Total population as we speak till today of Africa is until about 1.3 billion. Out of this, how far have we been able to unite? There was a need that we unite Africa. That is what you and I and all of us are preaching this evening. We united Africa in 1963 when Ghana stepped forward to call for United Africa, called Organization of African Union. Then all of them, they decided to join. That is where the problem started. The problem started because Ghana couldn't have sat in isolation. Nigeria couldn't have sat in isolation. They decided to have their own destiny and push the socio-economic agenda, unification, and then also to live as an African, to take our own destiny in our own hands. However, the French went to sit back, the English went to sit back, but very much more the French, that the African Union problem, fundamental problem in 1963 is what we are paying for the price today. That they never wanted African, a black man, ever to unite. And I'm saying this on authority because, excuse me, the French, in the 63, 64, 65, all the summit that they had, up to 70, thereabout in the mid-70s, all the French colonized countries on the African belt will not go to Addis Ababa to attend the meeting of the African Union unless they have to go and originate their journey from Paris. Félix Houphouët-Boigny will go to Paris. Togo president will go to Paris. Benin will go to Paris. Niger will go to Paris. All of them would have to go to Paris and take instructions and fly to Ethiopia with their French deputy. So any agreement at that time was not signed. And some of the agreements since 1963 is still hanging in the balance. It has not been signed because the French won't sign. If the French won't sign, some of the English countries would also fold their hands. So we decided to have a union. We decided to unite. We decided to to promote trade, diplomacy, economy, and then also to do a lot of things together. Is that what that has taken place? It never. We have gone a long way to change the face in 2002 when we decided to more broaden it up and have what is called African Union instead of Organization of African Union, because some of the countries did not join at that time. We have all that. But for your information and for the information of the listeners, Africa undoubtedly, it is the only richest continent of the whole world wide. And if we do a normal, simple mathematical check, normal calculations, every country, including that of mine, we are having not less than 10 solid mineral resources in commercial volumes. And I repeat again, 10 solid mineral resources in commercial volumes. Togo alike, Nigeria alike, Benin alike, Cameroon alike, Niger, across board. And then we have what is called a balanced range of the country because we don't have too much bad, call it natural disaster, weather, etc. Africa, as we speak, having all this 70 years that we left, that is, I'm referring to our colonial masters, they left. We still have more than 700 million out of our population of 1.3 billion still not having water to drink. We are having more than 500 to 700 also million people, 600 million people without energy, without electricity. So, was it good for Africa to have taken independence or it was bad? Look at the youthful population of the world today is found on the continent of Africa. Graduated or educated youth of the continent, not more than Europe. The total population of Europe is 741 million, with different languages or different background, etc. They colonized themselves, nobody colonized them. But we were colonized, but then we liberated, we said that let's unite. How far have we united? Susie, we have each country, 57 countries, and each one of them is having as much as many as 10 mineral resources, gold, diamond, timber, whatever that you can name them, iron ore, bauxite, oil, and on top of it, God bestowed this land with what is called a fertile land, with water bodies, with rivers, with stream, everything that humanly that we need. That is what God gave to Africa. Is that what Europe got? No. Is that what Americans got? No. Is that what the Latinos, the Central American, the Latin America, South America, and the Asians got? No. So average of over 600 or 650 to 700 mineral resources across the whole continent. And yet, that is where we are. We are speaking and we are preaching about Pan-Africanism. How best we'll be able to harness the opportunities. How best we'll be able. What has been the problem? You made mention of leadership. We will get there. But we have to understand the context and the history of the continent. Before you move, that you must know where you are going. You should know and understand your history. It is not the history that we were colonized that has been the problem, but very much. After the Second World War, most of the European countries, the Balkan states, a lot of them were as bad and as poor more than the African continent. But today, look at how far and where they've gone. Look at how far they have also managed to develop their country. What have we done with the African Union? What have we done with the ECOWAS? What have we done with the CEDEAO? What have we done with the SADC? What have we done with the East Africa? And then even our brothers and sisters from the northern part of Africa, some of them had even distanced themselves, gone to join the Arab League in the Western Asia of the Mediterranean. So, the United Front of Africa, where we decided to talk about unitingness, sharing one passport, having open border, doing trade, doing business, is that what has happened? Up to today, we haven't been able to do that. So the leadership is the crisis, or the leadership is the problem? Is the independent that we take, was it a curse, or the independent was a blessing? But I'm saying that if we knew, that is how our leaders, post-independent leaders, when the power was given to them, and I'm saying it, and I'm saying once again, we can do a background check and then track record of all. When the independence was given to our brothers and sisters, our forefathers, who really fought with their blood, who really fought with their energy. They went through very, very inhumane, anything that you can think of to get independence. But when the independence was given, how best did we do, or did we use the independence? Making it up to our generation till today. We have done the West. For them, one would say that education was not there. Our time, there is an education. But the force of Patrick Lumumba, Julius Nyerere, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and then all that you can name of, Kenneth Kaunda and co. Tell me any that exists or any that is out there. We have somehow been neo-colonized in our mentality. And then the political leaders at that time, the leadership that took power, they held the power on their chest. Till today, they didn't give power. So the political class of post-independent is what is still ruling Africa. That is where we have our problem today. No outsider is permitted or allowed to come in. Any outsider is seen as an outsider. Your contribution is nothing. Because cleverly, when the colonial masters, after colonizing us, and after they left, because they knew there were resources, the people they gave power to, they indirectly, directly took all their families, their children, and took them back to their colonial homes. You're talking about London, you're talking about France, you're talking about Luanda, you're talking about Portugal, Lisbon, you're talking about Brazil, you're talking about other countries, Italy, Rome, where they came to colonize us. They took the political leaders that were given the power. That was the hitch. So very much, the people at that point, they felt comfortable. Their sons and children were going to better schools. If you look across board, these were the people that turn around. Their children have come, they've grown, they come back to leaders. So for them, pretty much, they've lived in elite society, elite life. They haven't seen anything much. So Africa, Pan-Africanism, it's been neo-colonized again, even though the white man is not on the soil of Africa. But then their legacy liveth. Their legacy is still living in Africa. Take them country by country. We instituted and established what is called diplomacy, being one of the anchor which Africa were to use to diplomacy to connect us. Has it happened like that? How many African countries that does not see eye to eye with their own brother, their own other sister country? A lot of them. How many agreements that are still lying on the table of the African Union or whichever blocks in Africa that has not been signed? And then their common English is that things are in the pipeline. That is why African pipe is always choked, every country, because a lot of things that the politicians have injected in the pipeline, it will not make water flow. We have a problem. So the problem, as you brought this platform for Africans to discuss, and I must say that whatever I say on this platform, it is my individual independent opinion. It does not represent the opinion of the whole world, the whole Africans. But then we are sharing ideas. We are discussing Africa. We are talking about Pan-Africanism. What is the meaning of it? Where is the spirit of Africa? Where do we go from there? How long are we going to be slaves indirectly and then sitting down blaming the West that they have done this, they've done that? Please. They gave you education. They gave education to the Southeastern Asian countries. They gave education to the Arabian world, the peninsula. They gave education to the Latin America, the Central and the South. How did it happen that countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and then talk about, how do we call it, Singapore, most of all these countries were equally or also colonized, but at the same time, we are far older than some of them. Ghana is older, 6 months older than Malaysia. Ghana and Nigeria combined and helped Malaysia on authority how to plant palms. Today, they are the biggest player. Look at Kuala Lumpur, the city, and watch Lagos, and watch Accra, and watch Cameroon, Douala, my favorite city, which on that, unfortunately, you've destroyed it, the beauty of it. Across board. There is no African city, except maybe somewhere like Cairo, that you can relate or compare to Jakarta, to Singapore, to Malaysia. How did it happen? Our countries, our cities are sinking, shrinking, overpopulation, and then we're doing nothing about it. Employment is a problem. African youth are educated, but nothing comes out of it. Political leadership. So I'm asking all the time that, do we need democracy, or we need elections, or we need social economic emancipation, or we need economic democracy, or we needed just freedom? Yes, it appears that we only struggle to get freedom, that the white man, it is not the person who is the president over here. Apart from that, that is all across the whole African continent. Only that we don't have our colonial masters sitting, how do we call it, at the presidency. But in disguise, we are still being under the colonization again. So Africa need to rediscover, redivert the energies and synergies, the spirit in us, the spirit of our forefathers that they fought to get the independence. Is that the spirit that Africa we exhibit today? No. And pretty sad. Some of you, some of us, some of all those out there who even got the chance to live with a white man, educated out there, we also turn around to live more than even the white man in their own country themselves. What does it mean? It means that we don't like ourselves. We have not united ourselves. The spirit of Pan-Africanism is dead. We are a race of 89 countries, if I should say, with 3 strong geographical jurisdictions: the Caribbean, the South Pacific, and the African continent. Stronger men and women, stronger youth, good mineral resources, large mineral resources, voluminous. We have them. What have we done with them? Individual countries have not done the best. Ghana have not done the best. We are all surviving. We are all trying. Is that how we want to live in Africa? How far diplomatically are we connected? And that brings to mind, and that brings also to the topic of, if you look at how we position ourselves and how we throw out our diplomats among ourselves, among the member nations, how do we do? How do we connect? How do we open up trade? How do we open up our borders? Till today, it is a crime to be a Ghanaian traveling through Togo. It is a crime for Togolese to come to Ghana. It is a crime for Ghanaian to go to Nigeria. It's a crime for Nigerian to come to Ghana. Open border, just as common border. Police. That one, is that a white man that put those borders there for us? I'm asking. It is not different from Cameroon. My God, travel between Cameroon and Gabon. Travel between Cameroon and Nigeria on the ocean, on the Bakassi Peninsula. Travel between interstates of Africa and see how customs, immigration, police, military, we ourselves have barricaded ourselves. But yet, we do cry for foul play. The white man, the colonial masters, they look at the way hard you've been treating yourself. How did they? Of course, they stole our money. Who doesn't know? They are aware. But they took the money for a justified cause to go and build their country. But they didn't take the whole money. We are now getting even more resources. We are unearthing more resources. How best have we harnessed the opportunities and also the potentials in those resources? Is it lack of common sense, lack of spirit? The whole answer is just a simple thing of selfishness, or just we are not selfless enough to help our brothers. Now we talked about the new countries on the block. Wasn't Ghana, Nigeria, and Co, and the African countries, including Cameroon, including Congo, including Lulungwe, talking about Mozambique, talk about Lesotho, Swaziland, South Africa, Algeria. Were they not stronger, these countries stronger than South Korea? When did South Korea rise up? When did they come into the picture? Turkey have gone through bad turbulence movements. In 1994, today's Turkish president, Erdogan, he was how do we call it? Just a mayor of Istanbul. Look at how far he has taken his country in the last 15 years, becoming a global player. And all what we are doing, or we do know, borrow, 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 borrow. Bad leadership knows only how to borrow. And I'm asking a simple question that I've put before most of the African presidents whom I have some good relationship. I ask them that. When would Gabon, when would Cameroon, when would Nigeria, when would Togo start borrowing money to Ghana? When would Ghana borrow money to Benin? When would Benin give borrow? Why do we go to countries to borrow? And we can't borrow among ourselves. We cannot borrow ourselves money. How? Why is the African Union that we cannot borrow from the African Union? We have to go to overseas, go to Europe, individual countries. You are talking about a small country like Holland, tiny country like Holland. And you see 50 countries, African countries, going there to borrow money. For God's sake. How does it work? We're talking about China. Population of 1.3, 1.4 billion is the same size of population of the African continent. So if that is the case, China is to China is one country. How does 57 countries you line up to go and queue before China and take loan and come back? And you don't expect China to give you the money and give you citizens and people to come with. How do you expect them to give you their money? So big countries like this, with these mineral resources, with huge money, with huge population, with huge youth, with everything that God gave to the continent of Africa, which doesn't exist in any continent of the world. You group yourself, you go to Russia, everybody queue up and borrow. You group and go to America, you borrow. You group and go to the UK, you borrow. You group and go to France, you borrow. Yes, indeed. I know the French has a special case, the French countries. However, how best have we taken the destiny into our own hands? Is it a problem of education? It is not. So there are a lot of things that as an African or Africans, we're supposed to have done, which we haven't done, which we are not prepared to do. Our concentration on the continent had been just one thing: democracy. Democracy. What is the meaning of democracy here? Democracy is to prepare our tongue and then prepare our suits and jackets. Go and queue. Don't slap. Don't fight. Don't do this. Go post, cast your vote, go home and sleep. And when the government is formed or when election takes place, quiet. And then the government is given back to the presidents. They don't release the government back to us. But in the European jurisdiction, the American jurisdiction, when you go for electoral campaign, you promise them with legacies. You promise them with a lot of things that you cannot do. And yet we consume, we trust, we believe. And when we give you the power, they hold the power onto their chest. They don't give the government back. But the Europeans, they give the government back. Is it because, or are we saying that democracy is only when, undemocratic nation is when somebody stays longer in power, called the president? It is not. Europe, if in terms of longer time or how long somebody stays in power, then Germany, you can say that it's an undemocratic nation because they haven't over 15 to 20 years of America regime. Does that make them undemocratic? It is the vision that we don't put in action. It is the initiatives that we don't put commitment in it. That is where and how we feel that let this person come 4 years, another come 4 years. How best has it helped us? But then if you reflect and look back to countries that have succeeded, let's take Malaysia. Mahathir stayed in power for how long? Lee Kuan Yew stayed in power for how long? You can name them. How long did they stay in power? To build their country, because they built their country on a vision. 71 years of African history is equal to 71 years of Chinese history. When in the Second World War, China that you see today as anti-Europe, anti-Western, China was an ally that fought alongside America, United Kingdom, France, Portugal, Italy, the Western allies. China fought for the Western allies. Whereas Japan fought for Germany, and they fought also, Ethiopia and others fought with Italy on the Axis powers. But when after the war, that Chinese went back home, their own Japanese that were not done with the fight because they fought in Europe, they fought the Cold War, other places. Japan was not enough. They started a fight on China, unleashed a fight with China, killed Chinese, did all what they could. And after Japan, China did not get assistance from Russia, which was also a Western ally. There was a separation. China decided to take their destiny into their own hands. Lack of population at that time. So they started, excuse me to say, sleeping indiscriminately among themselves just to double their population. Build a country around their leaders. Chairman Mao and all of that. Look at the China, the master document, which they decided to topple the world or to be the world leader by 70 years. That is what is coming and that is what they are doing today. They have no land. They have no food. Yes, they have technology. They need a place to milk on. China, directly, indirectly, whether we like it or not, if we are not prepared to simulate this conversation, if we are not prepared to accelerate, but if we are prepared to sit down only and think of our politicians, we will be, in the next 10 years, China dominating, China taking Africa. Because China have introduced almost everywhere in Africa, Mozambique and other places, what do we see? They are buying the farms. Chinese have bought the farms in Uganda. They bought the farms in countries all over, including Nigeria, including mine, because they need a place to feed them. But then it brings to mind for us to know that, as I've said on different platforms, world is not going to experience anything called World War III. There cannot be any conventional war that is with weapons, human fighting, because there is no territory of the world. There is no sea that has now got owner. There is no land anywhere. So the new world war is what we are having today, which is the intelligent war of the corona. So I'm talking about Africa, the Pan-Africanism, that post-corona. of Africa exists nowhere. How did it happen? So we have much, and we have so much that we have caused the problems, the troubles of Africa, as the making of Africa. Ourselves, we haven't been able to break down the frontiers and the barriers. I'll bring back to your country, Cameroon. We're talking about vegetation. Is there any country that is rich in terms of fertile land, mineral resources than Cameroon? Look at from your border with the Nigeria-Madugri belt, in Jamina of Chad, from Garoua, Maroua, Mundu, Gandere, come down to, how do we call it, Yaoundé to Douala. I don't know where you come from, but then your city, your English, a Cameroonian speaking English like that, I presume and anticipate that you are from the south of Cameroon. From Litra province, which is Douala, going to your area, Bakassi, towards Bakassi land of the Nigeria, Boya, Bafoussam, Kumba, Nyenge, Atabon, Black Bush, all the way up to the ocean, crossing over to Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State. Look at fertile land. Is there any land on African continent that is richer than Cameroonian land? Why are Cameroonians hungry? With political upheavals, political problems. Today, tomorrow, Abazonia, there's an issue here, African rebels and the bush, etc. Europeans have rebels more than us, if you care to know. At the heart of United Kingdom in London. Okay, Sinn Féin, Jerry Adams, there was a rebel campaign in the 90s. Bombardments, we saw them. They did affect them. Germans have skinheads. They are still existing. Bad rebels, they have them. Separatists in Spain, they have them. A lot of things. Russia, Chechen rebels, they are there. So it's not in Africa that we cannot progress because we have rebels. When you go to Southeastern Asia, Tamil rebels of Sri Lanka and others, they are there. Go to Latin America, Central America. We have rebels all over the bush. Brazil have rebels. Colombia have rebels. Peru have rebels. Ecuador, El Salvador, all these countries, Nicaragua, they all have rebels. And yet, marginally, they've managed to shape their country, if not anything, created a kind of a beauty. We are sitting there, folding our arms, in despair, throw our hands in heavens, brandishing our hands in the air with hopelessness, asking China to come and help. And then you see that our young brother, 42-year-old vibrant president, André Rajoelina of Madagascar, saying that I have the medicine of what? COVID. I can cure. African leaders say that no, because a certain World Health Organization have told them not to take, not to validate. Whose making is that? You are waiting for America to fight off, losing 1,000 people a day, over 200 people, 1,000 people dying, Europeans, Italians, you want them to finish burying all their corpses before they sit down, design medication and bring it to you. Is that how we think? Is that what we're waiting for? Is that the African that our fathers fought for independence? Is that the Pan-Africanism? Is that the what? The system? It is a matter of whether we want Afroism to be the guidance and the guiding principle that we live as Africans. We do things as Africans. Let us go back. The adjustment of education is one of the biggest problems facing Africa. Then I was in Nairobi in December when the vice president of Kenya, he mounted the podium, the summit, the ACP summit. And he said that I would like to speak Swahili. Is this an agenda that all Africans will unite and speak one language? I was so impressed. I was just simply impressed by the vice president and his speech. Look at among ourselves. Look at the language we speak in our parliament. Whereas we have a traditional and cultural and our own language. Is that what Sri Lanka did? Is that what Indonesia? They used their language, post-colonial language, their language before the colonial masters. Yes, they treat the English, if they were colonized by English, as a subject. They don't treat it as a language. So the mother tongue. How do you come back to Europe? Romania is a small country, they speak Romanian language. Bulgaria is a small country, they speak their own language. Turkey speak their own language. Every country speak their own language. And Africa, we forcibly want to speak our colonial masters' language, whereas we have language that the whole public understands. So if you educate your child, learning from a different language of a colonial master sitting where the mentality is still not enough because he cannot communicate and he can't compete. Est-ce que c'est comme ça, Marcel?
No, we have 6 more minutes to your presentation, then we're going to open the lines.
Go ahead. So, it is interesting.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that we have 6 minutes into your presentation, then we're going to open the lines because, you know, there are just a lot of questions, and this is not going to be your last time being here. Like I said, we're going to put you on a special slot, special days, because I mean, this is just so mind-blowing. And I see listeners already saying that you spend 1 year in every country just to know about their culture. So you're so loaded that, I mean, you have to debunk all these systems in the world for us to understand better. So you have 6 minutes or 5 minutes now, and then we open the lines.
Okay, for the information of the listeners, African 54 countries, let me call it 56, if we add some of the islands. I've had the chance to travel around, let me call it, about 48 of the countries in Africa. So I very much well understand the culture, the frontier, the barriers, and the countries, the people, the languages, and how we live. And I haven't seen any difference. I have not seen any difference. Any dance that exists in Cameroon, Yaoundé, the same dance exists in Uganda. Any food that is eaten in Botswana, the same language, the same food is eaten in Tanzania. Any food that is eaten in Congo, the same food, you can get it also in Angola. So there is no difference. So uniting Africa should have been a very simple thing, more than any other thing. Where the blocks? Colonial masters have left and gone. We have human beings. We are human beings. We have heads. We have formed governments. What is the government helping us? My smallest idea is that Africa, our so-called democracy, it is needless if we are not prepared. We are not prepared to build our country around a certain vision, a certain pattern of a vision. And crafting that vision, we don't need one party. We don't need any political philosopher. We don't need any experienced politician, but we need a visionary leader. And I'm propagating the agenda that all Africa, we must come together and break the rule of one party or one president from one party ruling our countries. That is the biggest problem that is being faced by the whole continent of Africa because of one simple thing: electoral elections. What does it happen? Whenever that we have elections in any of the African countries, and today after elections, when there's a tie break because one did not get 50%, Africa must do everything possible to get one party to go into government. Europe hasn't got one party into government. Europe doesn't have it. America, because of electoral college, So Europeans embrace the idea of a coalition government. Which African countries have coalition government? And Susie, your country typically, when will Cameroon embrace coalition government? Yeah, les anglophones.
Okay, I think we are going to be opening the lines so soon. Put me on the camera. We're going to be opening, yeah. We're going to be opening the lines shortly. And we just lost a brother, I think, because of some technical connections, but he's going to be here live with us again. And people, how are you doing out there? How are you doing? Do you feel the same way I'm feeling? Please, the lines are not yet open. The lines are not yet open. We're going to open the lines when our brother is connected again to take your calls. I know we're itchy for the calls. Let's just wait him to reconnect back. And we're going to open the lines. Please. Did you ever know that we have 89 countries, you as African people? Did you ever know that on the continent, the Black people, we have 89 countries? We've always been talking about 54, 55. We didn't even know that there were 57. You know, we didn't even know that the diaspora is another country included in the 55 countries of Africa, or 54. We didn't know that. And today we are having this powerful brother, this Wikipedia, African Wikipedia, who has debunked all this information, and he still has a lot, brothers and sisters. That's why I'm telling you, we're going to bring on the Pan-African Daily TV just the biggest brains. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba is one, but we have millions of them just hiding that we have never discovered them, like Brother Al, and many, many, many of them. And now you begin to see that there is nothing that is going to stop us. Like one of you said, Africa's unity is no longer an issue of choice, but one of survival and a must. It is a must. It is no longer a luxury. It is no longer a negotiation. It is a must. And that must is now. And we begin to see the voices rising from all over the 89 countries of Africa. We're talking about the Caribbean, the South African Pacific, and Africa. Now, I really want to appreciate our brother, and I want to thank him. He is saying that he is trying to connect. He was kicked out from his own source. I don't know what happened. Okay, now he's back. He's back. He's back. He's back. He's back. Hello?
Yes. Hello, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I mean, our ancestors are not going to let this happen. No way, no time soon. Yeah, and if you come here, then we're opening up the lines because people are so itchy, and they are congratulating, they are thanking you so much, and that we are having a lot of big brains. Like I said, you know, the PLO Lumumbas, and now the undiscovered brain continent are coming up, and they will be coming up every day with us. Yeah, so the lines are open. If you want to say a last word before we open the lines, because you were caught.
Okay. Let me just say that I know you're streaming live from Germany, Stuttgart, precisely, and you have seen in Germany. Germany is a country that doubled. They had the First World War. They have Second World War. Look at their spirit. A country that was broken down, they used 40 years to build. We are using 70 years and above. We haven't been able to build. And it's Germany to Germany. It's only one country. We are 57 countries. Can't we unite? Is that what you see in Stuttgart? Is that what we see in Berlin? Have you seen the beauty?
No.
They've developed all their life with zeal and enthusiasm and love and patriotism. Why have we not? Where have we thrown our patriotism away? Because we have, I'm saying, on authority, bad leadership system, which we are not prepared to change, because our leaders are still connected to the colonial masters, that colonizers that we say we don't want. You go back with them with a tray, with your knife and fork, and then with your plate to go and borrow. How and when would Africans start borrowing ourselves instead of borrowing from China, instead of borrowing from Pakistan, instead of borrowing from Germany, instead of borrowing from Canada, instead of borrowing? We borrow to the extent that African countries, per records, they borrow even $10,000. Some African countries borrow $10,000 historically.
Yes. I think most of
so I'm prepared to take the question in the public.
Okay, 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 brother. Thank you so much for your wonderful contribution. And you guys out there, thank you so much for your patience. The lines are open. Please, because of the congestion, we have more than 1,000 people waiting to make this call and to ask questions. Keep your questions really short. Keep your questions short. Go straight to the point. No analysis of the facts he's been putting out here. Questions very, very short. And we're going to take only one caller for today. I mean, one call. Like, you don't need to make three times the same person. I'm going to take just one call so that we give everyone the opportunity, and we are here. I want to thank even the fans or the EFF of Julius Malema that are live and watching with us, and they're saying that we are here to carry on these conversations, and all of you watching on the continent and in the Caribbean. Now I'm going to take this call, and is from Ghana. Sorry, sorry. Yes, I'm taking your call, and I want to put on the volume. Oh my goodness! Please stop interrupting. Stop interrupting people. We are not going to function like that. Hello.
There is no interruption.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah. So this is a call from Helsinki.
Yes.
So I will first of all thank you, Suzanne, for your great job that you are doing. We have never seen this before, and I thank my brother. Although I just came in, I do not know his name yet. I believe he sounds like a Ghanaian.
Yes.
So I thank him for showing up today.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk with you, Susan, Madam Susan. I want you to understand that not everybody will want to talk on the screen.
Correct.
And there are a lot of Africans who have solutions, who
Yes.
really know what to do, but they wouldn't want to talk. I suggest that you should have another means of communication, which is a bit confidential than this.
Okay, understood. It's coming up so soon, but you can drop in your message or whatever, and I call you back after the show one-on-one. Okay?
Okay, now, yeah, this is a permission as a request that if I can drop a text message for you, then because I haven't heard that you can receive a text message outside making a call while you are on your show.
No, my team is right here with me. I'm not alone, and any message that you drop on the call is going to be redirected, and I will get connection to you one-on-one. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. And let's take this next call.
Thank my brother for showing up today, and we expect more. Thank you, guys. You've done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna get up the next call. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Please, if you want to drop private messages, just you have a line, drop it. Even if you want to talk to her, Al is here. Like I said, make the calls and keep them really short because we have a lot of congestion on the line. And when you listen, somebody is calling, just wait until he finishes, then you call him. There are a lot of calls just coming in and pushing other people up. Please, let's do this orderly, and all of us are going to get our calls through. Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Good evening, my sister.
Good evening, brother.
I want to thank our brother that is gracious enough to grant us some of his knowledge. My name is Mazichku Kachizoro. They call me Jele.
Yes.
I'm calling from Istanbul, Turkey. You know, he said something about Turkey, and I grabbed it. What he said about Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, is spot on. And I thank him for his wealth of knowledge, you know, in geography and contemporary history of African politics. But there is something he's missing. Those loans you are seeing, some of those so-called leaders have no choice than to take those loans. If they refuse, they will be removed from office immediately. When you look back, ask yourself, why is it that they can borrow money every money borrowed to any African country runs through the IMF and the World Bank. Then the Paris Debt Club. Go and check. I don't like when Africans say since independence we don't have independence. No African country is independent. There is a reason. What killed Muammar Gaddafi was the gold dinar, where Africa was going to have a currency backed by gold. If you check the US dollar, it's a fiat currency. So, Richard Nixon removed it from the gold standard in 1972. And ever since, they've been using it to destroy the economies of every African. I dare the Ghanaian president to drop the US dollar as a trading currency for
brother. So what is your question?
No, not a question. I'm just trying to drop those suggestions. I don't know if he knows all these things I'm saying, but the thing is this. I just want to drop this. My own is a contribution, not a question.
Okay.
The IMF, and check the owners of the IMF and the World Bank. They call it the World Bank. It's not owned by the world. It's a private establishment. The same people who own the International Settlement own that thing. When you go back, you check the Dutch West Indies Company, all the people that ran slavery in Africa, they are still the same people. The same bankers that sponsored the ships that came to take us, to destroy us. We are talking of agriculture. Do you know when they destroyed our agriculture? It was done even in the 18th century. Why were all the slaves Sierra Leone from the island? North Carolina. And all those places are where you get this fine American rice. Because they were taking the first slaves in the farm. The destruction didn't start today, and that slave never ended. Please, I don't know. You don't have much time. I want to call you privately. I don't know when I will call you to explain some of those things, and I need that brother's contact.
Okay.
We need to rub minds.
Yes.
You understand? Because when we talk about these things, we don't talk about the Council of Foreign Relations. We don't talk about the Chatham House.
Okay.
We don't talk about the Chatham Commission.
Please, brother. Yeah, brother, you drop us a message, because this is just the beginning. He will still talk about all those things. This is not the end. He didn't finish his conversation. We are going to be having a slot with him, and I'm damn confident that all what you are addressing is already on the agenda. But I'll put you guys in touch. Okay. Thank you so very much for your contribution. Let's take direct questions. Thank you so much. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My name is Kuju.
I'm
calling from Austria.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to greet my brother, Wahab. Brother, what you are saying? Oh, okay. My question is, I would like to ask my brother. I know I have been watching a lot of his programs, Coffee TV and others, and I would like to ask, what are the solutions so that even West Africa we can come together? God, this is that what he has been reading is our problems. How can we come together? That is my question.
Okay, over to you.
Okay, it's very simple as that. Fortunately, the best economy in the whole of Africa as we speak today is no other country than Nigeria. The best 10 Nigeria places in between either number 1 or number 2. The worst performance of Nigeria on the African continent in terms of the best economy in Africa is number 3. Right now, they are the number 1, South Africa, Algeria, Ethiopia, etc. Nigeria, to me, I've always said that in every school, there is a headmaster. In Europe, now, if you ask of headmasters of Europe, it's France and Germany. I'm saying that Nigeria has not taken the position with the might, with the money, with the population, and Nigeria that has also been a bigger player, having about 200 million population. The solution is that Nigeria, they gave the African, the ECOWAS, the headquarters, it is in Nigeria. They should step together with the partner Ghana, Togo, and all the 17 West African countries. I mean, we're doing block by block. Move in. You requested a question, you asked the question of West Africa, that we should disband the idea of one party having one government that they form. That is the problem of West Africa, and that is the problem of Africa, meaning that if Nigeria elections, there is a tie break, or even one at a go, that the president gets one slot, first slot straight away, 50% plus one. The governments of West Africa and Africa must not be allowed that one party would select minister of this, minister of that, minister of the chief executive, etc. When you do that, the people would not work. There's no accountability. There's no probity. There is nothing called auditing. There's nothing called accountancy oversight, because of the fact that they all meet together and it's the same party. How do they accuse each other? How do we correct corruption? So in a country where, and how the Europeans have done it, is where they have a unified sort of what is called a grand coalition government. If we have a grand coalition government, we don't need to care about who becomes a president for 10 years or who becomes a president for 20 years. At the end of the day, the system is kept in check. But in my country, Ghana, at all costs, one party must win. One party must carry the majority into parliament. At all costs in Nigeria, one party must have the Senate and the president must have the numbers in the Senate. So if it happens like that, then of course, if even the government is not performing, you don't have any say. So the simplest solution to my brother is that we are botched with a kind of democratic dispensation that doesn't fit into the context of checks and balancing and making our country prosper and developing to accelerate development. So the simple and short, the version of that of solution is that we don't need to go round two in any country in Africa, in West Africa, during elections, but rather that country that gets the party that gets the majority from the government, but you must be forced to give 60% or 50% or 40% to your coalition government, other small parties, and then the opposition party. If all of them are sitting together, there is automatic checks and balance, because nobody would like the government to fail, and they wouldn't like to disgrace themselves. That is where, Kojo, we have our problem. And typically, it's the same thing in Ghana. Every opposition party in Ghana, in Nigeria, they have good information, good governance system, good platform, everything that they will talk about, good legacy projects that have been planned, what they want to do for the public. But the moment they mount the podium, elections both casted, giving them the government, they don't return the government because they return it among themselves, the bunch of the party members that congregate themselves in the parliament. So if they are there, some may not even talk, some may not even contribute because their party is in power, they don't care. So it is impunity, and then they abuse the system. And I'm saying that if Africa will learn how to have, we should embark on coalition government. Every African country will have our problem solved. That is where, Kojo, we have our problem. And if we are prepared to take the drive and then have this resolution and change and do a ratification of our constitution, which was given to us by a white man, an old system, colonial master, the time that our population was just 6 million. That is the kind of constitution Ghana is still looking at, without much modification, without much changes from the 1957 constitution. That is where we have the problem. So until we change from that, we'll still be in the situation where we find ourselves now.
Okay, thank you. Let's take this other call. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, good evening.
Susan.
Yes.
I want to thank our guest. I am telling you, he has a rich background of the African continent. I want to thank him very much for what he has told our people. But I have a problem with what he said about African independence.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever convince me that Africa had independence. Why do I say so? He made mention of the Organization of African Unity that was created, and some countries were never part of it except the past programs before they attended a meeting. And so, then what does it? How does it tell us that Africa had independence with such mentality?
Okay.
There was no African independence, and I will still continue to say that. For example, I thank God he has a good background of Cameroon, for example. He has a good background of the Southern Cameroons. So now I am giving him an example of the Southern Cameroon. That is where I have a good background of it. Look at it. That from 1953, the people of Southern Cameroon started managing themselves. If people started managing themselves, having leaders who were they were running like a government up to 1961, that they are supposed to be given the independent. Yet because the white, because France or Britain, because Britain realized that these people, if we really give them independence, they actually will be independent. So they took it away from them and joined them with France, and that is what.
Please, can they adjust? Sorry. Let him answer the first question. This analysis, we are going to have it on the conversation. There's just a lot of people waiting online. Let him answer the first question that you said. You don't have the impression that they had independence. Please, okay. Thank you. If not, we're not going to go ahead. Over to you, Al.
Okay. My brother from the Amazonian region of South Cameroon. Independence in the context of where a colonial master that colonized you packs his bags and then his bed and then everything of what they brought and taken away to their country because you wanted to have your own flag. Because you wanted even to rename like Ghana did. It was Gold Coast. When we got independent, we said we are Ghana. But Ghana was from Mauritania, Kombesela, which is the city. We didn't import the city name to be the capital of Accra. So independent in the context of, yes, we were given our own flag. We are given our own colors of the flag. Read the meaning of every color of African country. Go out there, do research of Cameroonian flag, your color and the meaning. And do that across both the whole African continent. You would understand that, yes, when the white man left, they said that we fought with the blood and toil of our forefathers. Yes, so we have independence in a way that we're given our own flag and our own country to handle. The white man is not. There's no French, let me say, there's no British, a white British who is a president of Ghana, Cameroon, all over. That is the context of independence. But then I agree with you if you say that the independence, as I've said, that it has been given to us. but we are not practicing what we call for the independence, because the people who took the independence, they are gone. It is left with you and I what to do with that independence. That makes whether we are independent state or not. In the mind, we are not independent. In a country, we have independence. We have our own national anthem. We don't play the national anthem of France. We don't play national anthem of Cameroon. We don't play we don't play national anthem of Russia. They were not in Africa anyway. We don't play the national anthem of Belgium in anywhere in Africa. We play our own national anthem. That is what we say, that we have our own independence. But then in the context of independent badly used, then I can agree, I can side with you in the context. And I also agree with you with the South Cameroon issue, which in my view is a special case that will deal it on another platform or on another time, because the Amazonia and the Cameroon, the South Cameroon, it is a complex and a typical issue, which bothers with also with the international community, and for that matter, United Nations. When there was a push from the South Cameroonians that they wanted to be part of that is the Bakassi, they wanted to be part of Southern Nigeria. It has a different interpretation that they were part of Nigeria. But then the English cleverly, as I've told you, that they and the French, where they felt the heat, they barricade with the French. That is why English quietly left Cameroon and gave Cameroon to French. Notwithstanding, the country that's supposed to have colonized your country is supposed not to be the French. It's supposed not to be the English. It was the Germans. Germans lived Cameroon longer than any of them. So in Douala, people in the 80 years who are in their 90 years, marginally they were all controlled or lived with Germans, not the French, not the English. So Amazonian issue is a typical issue. Bearing in mind that Cameroonian politicians, English and French alike, have not positioned themselves also well comparatively. Because if you want, I'm not saying that a power, I don't want to delve into politics, but then the